The following is a January 1st, 2010 panel discussion on Fox and Friends about the concept of bring home the politicians, also known as decentralization or eCongress as they refer to it in this segment. You'll find our response to concerns they raise at the end of this video.
Listen to this concept. What if we take our politicians out of Washington, away from lobbyists, away from each other? Will they actually get more work done? We're back with our political panel who is actually tweeting for Clayton Morris this morning. So hopefully you follow Clayton Morris and you're wondering what in the world's going on in his Twitter account.
About your cufflinks.
My cufflinks are Broncos cufflinks world. That's what they're talking about. Okay, this idea is to take Congress out of Washington. Basically, you would correspond via webcam. But would this actually be an effective idea, Michelle? Because you take everyone out of the, away from the lobbyist, away from the arm twisting, the backroom deals. Would they get more done at home by their constituents?
Well, I think there's a very good argument for people spending more time with their constituents and also getting more of the policy discussion, more of the information out there to the rest of the country. But as far as an e-Congress, this would be good backup system. But as far as the main thing, not so much. Our
congressional booker, he freaked out when we tossed out this idea because he said, well, then you couldn't twist somebody's arm. You couldn't get a deal done. And we said, yeah, that's why they would do this, Nick. So is this a good idea? Because you would take away some of those arm-twisting deals.
Yeah, I mean, the founding fathers wanted a citizen legislature. I mean, that, you sort of go to Washington, you do things, you come home, and we've gotten away from that. So maybe the e-Congress would be sort of that mentality. You stay closer to your constituents. You contact, you stay in touch through webcams or whatever, but you're really talking to the people you represent and representing their views.
Imagine that.
And the lobbyists don't have control of you. It'd be very interesting.
No lobbyists.
Sort of like eHarmony.
This would be interesting. It's kind of like this movie, Up in the Air, with George Clooney.
Right.
They were firing people via webcams on that movie. What are the potholes? Because you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I'm amazed. This whole concept that we actually want Congress to do more. I mean, I don't care which party's in power. I don't want them to do more. I want them to do less. The Republicans did damage to us. The Democrats are doing damage to us. So
you're truly a Hamiltonian.
Yes, I am. I am a Hamiltonian, small d Democrat. Let's have gridlock. Let's slow things down, put the brakes on Washington. And you know what? It's nice to say we want congressmen back in the districts, but the districts really want politicians back with them.
Well, it put
I believe so. I believe
it put K Street out of business. All those, high-paid fat cat lobbyists. Yeah.
You really think?
How are you going to lobby somebody if they're in their basement on their computer?
You can do phone calls, emails. By the way, a lot of the lobbying takes place. A lot of it, as we saw with Jack Abramoff, takes place via phone and email.
But Michelle,
and lobbyists out on the airplanes through the new security measures.
If there are lobbyists all over Capitol Hill, would it improve that situation?
I think they're still going to find a way to get to our lawmakers. But I think that there's really a sort of a hidden benefit of an e-Congress is you no longer would have any excuse for missing a vote.
That is absolutely true.
You can vote through Facebook and
aren't there
Twitter.
tremendous...
Unless someone hijacks your Congress account.
Or hijacks your Twitter account, which Clayton has sitting out here. So Nick was able to hack onto it and start posting.
Our political panel has hijacked...
You never sounded so brilliant on Twitter, by the way.
He just mooned the camera.
And you know what?
Is that allowable in 2010?
I think this actually spotlights one of the security concerns of an e-Congress. What happens if people hack in? If they hack into those accounts. Wow, this was a lively and festive political panel.
New Year's Day segment.
Happy New Year to all of you.
I will be thinking all year about...
In regards to the concerns about this plan by Michelle Wooker, Executive Director of the World Policy Institute, decentralization is far more than a backup plan. It's a proven concept, with corporations and the military having used this very system of telecommuting for decades to develop complex products, negotiate large contracts, and survive in difficult economic times. In fact, the Democratic Party showed how useful this idea was during the August 09 recess, with the administration using phones, faxes, emails, and web conferences on a daily basis with their party's representatives and senators to defend against an enraged public during the late summer's town hall meetings. Following up on the comments of Nick Ragone, presidential historian, it's important to note that the Founding Fathers themselves spent an enormous amount of time in their districts while they tended to their farms. It is true the founders emphasized the importance of personal contact, but given the technology of the day, writing a letter that took several weeks to reach the recipient was the only alternative to a face-to-face meeting. Today's web conferencing combines the best of both worlds, providing remote face-to-face contact. Syndicated columnist Joel Mowbray is an advocate of gridlock. But gridlock is just the opposite of what we have, with 72 hours to read thousands of pages in various health bills before forcing a vote, an unpopular hate crimes bill and a lifting of the debt ceiling attached to completely unrelated defense legislation, and a myriad of other congressional abuses would be far more difficult to carry out with Congress members removed from their protective herds in D.C. Even if we could hit the pause button on what's in place right now, the U.S. is still on an unsustainable course, and rapid speed rather than gridlock is necessary to correct long-term policy mistakes that have grown out of control over the decades. Implementing these vital changes in policy will only take place when the special interests are removed and the pipeline to the voice of the citizens is restored, something decentralization can and will accomplish. A common concern among the panel members is that lobbyists will still find a way to reach Congress members despite their relocation and shrinking of their staffs to fit in only one office in their districts. It's true that new lobbyist tricks will arise, allowing them to personally visit, phone, and email Congress members once brought home. But this time around, the swarm of lobbyists will be no match for the voice of the constituency. National security has also been raised as a potential problem with decentralization, to which we ask you to simply look again to the corporations and military who've been able to continue their operations over the years using the latest in encryption software and other technological advances. For example, defense contractors to this day conduct highly sensitive military work using a secured telephone unit commonly referred to as an STU, with the original form of this technology dating back to 1970. The truth of the matter is that national security is greatly enhanced by bringing home the politicians, with this country no longer vulnerable to one major catastrophe in the nation's capital that would immediately paralyze the entire U.S. Decentralization creates a grid system that means in the worst-case scenario, losing only a few servers on a grid of 51 when including D.C. This actually isn't even a new idea. On September 14, 2001, J.H. Snyder, former research director of the Wireless Future Program of the New America Foundation, presented this concept to U.S. Congress on the grounds of national security. He laid out clearly how securing the identity of Congress members will be accomplished with various layers of redundancy in the authentication process. Unfortunately, this innovative reform fell on deaf ears at the time. For nearly a decade now, we've become bogged down in a debate between surge and withdrawal when it comes to foreign policy. Our stated goal as a nation is to preserve freedom against those who wish to take it away. But are not terrorists and dictators of the world succeeding in this nefarious plot when it only takes one threatening individual on an airplane or the like to further erode the civil liberties of hundreds of millions of Americans through profiling, body scanners, and alarming executive orders? Both weak and strong central governments are the proven breeding grounds of terrorists and despots alike. This shift from our current centralized constitutional republic to a localized constitutional republic allows us to lead by example in a time when internationally we advocate a form of government which we ourselves have come to realize is highly vulnerable to special interests and overall injustice. We have the opportunity in this moment to prove that freedom is still and always will be the best choice. So if you haven't already, join us in this movement to replace shouts of disgust with a simple and powerful solution. Whether it's called decentralization, eCongress, or the like, we urge you to stand up with us now and do your part to bring home the politicians.